It is the 8th of August 1991, and workers are rummaging through the wreckage of a structural collapse. Now, it's not a building that was intended for people to work or live in, but instead for the propagation of propaganda to promote the virtues of communism to the world. Ironically, its failure occurred just 2 years after the fall of communist rule in the country. The structure pre-collapse was the tallest man-made creation in the world, only overtaken in the early 2010s by the Burj Khalifa. Now, the wreckage we can see here was a communications tower. But what was the cause? Well, sit back, relax and find out. Today we're looking at the Warsaw communications mast failure. My name is John and welcome to Plainly Difficult. So just before we start, this video's timeline is based off of multiple contemporary and more recent news reports and articles, rather than my usual go-to of an investigation report, as I was unable to find one in English. Right, let's get cracking. Also, I'm going to apologise in advance for my horrible treatment of the beautiful Polish language in this video. The tallest in the world. So our story begins here in Warsaw, Poland, and the completion of a rebuilt radio tower in 1949. There had originally been 2 towers on the site, in which antenna was supported across between the two, one of which had been destroyed during the opening days of the Second World War to stop it getting into German hands. Now, the rebuilt 335 tall mast and 200 watt transmitter was hoped to cover all of the country in glorious communist broadcasting, but it was quickly realised that it was not powerful enough and was promptly upgraded to 500 watts. But the tower's location would be its biggest issue, for being the nation's main transmitter, originally built when the country's borders were different to that of the late 1940s, which caused reduced signal across the north of the country. Thus, a new mast was envisioned. It would be located more geographically central within the country and was to be a whole lot taller. The location was set to be in Konstantynów. The site was chosen, interestingly, for its soil conductivity. The area devoted to the project would end up being a fenced-off site of 65 hectares of land with little agricultural value. It would have multiple support and technical buildings and even its own electrical substation. Groundwork on the new transmission tower began in 1969, with the foundation being dug out in July of the same year. Work on the tower proper began in 1971, being completed in May 1974. The mast metalwork was made up of 86 sections, triangular in cross-section, with each side 4.8 metres long and 7.5 metres high, all standing on a 2 metre high insulator. These in turn were made up of steel pipes 245mm in diameter, with a varying wall thickness of 8 to 34mm, the thinner being on the sections closer to the top and the thicker being on the sections closer towards the base, and the steelwork was arranged in a lattice layout and welded together. Each section was galvanised and painted for anti-corrosion protection, and to protect it from airborne accidental bumpings, it was painted red and white, as well as having lights at night time. The final structure was 646.3 metres tall, meaning it was a lanky thing. So how didn't it immediately fall over at the first gush of wind? Well, for any of you who have ever put up a tent before, the solution would seem familiar. This is the use of guy lines. The structure had quite a few. The mast had guy cables at 5 heights running from each of its 3 corners. These are vital to the mast's structural integrity, keeping the some 420 tons of steel in the sky. A 600 metre long transmission cable was run throughout the structure, from the transmitter building. The mast would understandably be a point of national pride, as it would end up being the world's tallest man-made structure. The Polish government even made a film about its construction and commissioning in 1974. So much was this new tower's broadcasting prowess that transmissions of communist glory could even be received in Antarctica. That'll show those capitalist emperor penguins. It would then work for years broadcasting national news stories and propaganda. although 10 years after commissioning, inspections revealed damage to the mast caused by weather exposure. Barely any maintenance was undertaken, resulting in a gradual degradation. At one point, even repainting was attempted but abandoned due to lack of paint. Which is surprising, as the structure had its own elevator to assist in maintenance, enabling a full height journey of just 45 minutes. Some of the guide cables were showing signs of age by the late 1980s and had become frayed in places, requiring replacement. Sourcing of which had become a bit of a headache. Because it was the tallest in the world, getting a manufacturer to recreate the original spec guide cables was difficult, but regardless, replacement would go ahead at the start of the 1990s, which leads us on to the disaster. It is the 8th of August 1991, and the Broadcasting Centre is going to do some repair work on the world's tallest structure. The company employed to do the work was engineering firm Mast. The work was to replace one of the guide cables off the top section on the 5th run of cables. This would require the removal of said cable and replacement with 2 temporary lines. This is all good and all, but it would require disconnection of the main guide line and connecting of the temporary lines, and doing so would require a careful eye and a plan. The 2 temporary lines were installed and the original one still attached at the top was hung down the mast. All looked pretty acceptable, at least to the crew. At around 7 PM, one of the temporary cables slipped off of its mount. This put all the strain on the remaining temporary cable, which subsequently failed. This resulted in one of the corners of the mast's upper section being unsupported. Assisted by the blowing of winds at over half a kilometre in the air, at 7:10 local time, the mast failed. It bent over at the unsupported section, then folded in half and crashed down to earth. In a brilliant turn of luck, no one was killed, and even the broadcast cable was still left intact. However, one building closest to the mast received damage, as well as a truck crane being written off, which was being employed to use the refurbishment works. With a pile of bent metal and rubble for a radio mast, all 225 kHz Program 1 broadcasts went down. In a case of full circle, the Warsaw broadcast tower was reconfigured to be the country's main radio mast in the interim. A replacement was planned, but instead a new site was selected in Solek Kujawski, which had previously been used as a military installation. And instead of a massive tower, an array of smaller masts would be employed. The mangled up remains of the tower was cut up and sold off for scrap, leaving not much behind of the world's tallest structure. The site was sold off for redevelopment in the 2020s. The mast officially got taken over as the tallest man-made structure when in 2009 the Burj Khalifa took the honour at over 800 metres tall. But what was the cause? Well, this leads us on to the investigation. So, in the aftermath, prosecutors had a bit of a nightmare creating the timeline. The project manager didn't keep a diary of the work being undertaken, leaving only interviews as evidence. Now, why did the manager not keep any log of his team's work? Well, it's because he was not a qualified contractor, which in turn probably hinted that he didn't really know what he was doing. A scapegoat was kind of found. To be fair, there was not a massive pool of people qualified to do the work on the mast, being a bit of a one-of-a-kind structure, but I'm sure there was a better fit for the job, especially when the company that had been employed to do the refurbishment works was one of Poland's largest construction companies. The head of the refurbishment team, i.e. the unqualified manager, was charged and sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. The CEO of Mast, Adam Brzezinski, would say during an interview on the disaster, the main mistake was made before starting the work. Mast should have prepared a report on the technical condition of the facility, specifying the degree of risk posed by the repair of the strained mast. Yes, I'd agree with that summary too. Good job he wasn't the head of the company. Oh wait, he was. So that's my video on the Warsaw Mast disaster. It's going to be a 2 on my scale, and this is what I've got for my root cause analysis card. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments below. This is a Plain Default production. All videos on the channel are Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike licensed.